Welcome to How to Get Started in Government Contracting. I am your instructor, Jessica House. That's me. I'm a spiritual and business coach. And I really started this course, honestly, out of a pain point that I experienced as I was kind of maneuvering through my career and transitioning from being an employee to now an employer, so to speak. I had some challenges trying to figure out where to start in government contracting. This course is going to give you those key steps that you need in order to get you to a place that you can successfully begin bidding on government contracts. I'm sorry. So that's me. I'm Jessica House. First thing we're going to talk about tonight is government contracting as a whole. What is government contracting? I've talked to quite a few people and they don't necessarily know what that means. I've had quite a few people say, well, you're the first person that I've heard it from. So let's just jump into what government contracting is. Contracting in government is when there are individuals or a firm that enters into a contract with any government department or agency to perform a specific task, whether it be to provide labor and materials or sell goods and services. These are the individuals and firms that are called federal government contractors. So that's kind of like a official definition of what government contracting is. Now we're going to go into what can you sell to the government. A lot of times what I'm finding is that a lot of people are not aware that, first of all, the government, they buy and sell mostly everything. And before we even dive into what you can sell, I was recently asked the question, well, why doesn't the government just buy these things for themselves? And honestly, the answer really is, if the government decided to buy these services and products for themselves, they would have to literally become what you and I are. And that's an entity, which means that they would be liable or held under to some form of liability. So the government doesn't want to do that. That's why they outsource this out to contractors, such as myself and you. The government buys products and services, but these are just a few that they buy. Such as your products. You have your medical supply equipment. There are a lot of solicitations out for medical supply, but that's honestly across the board, whether that's government or whether that's private sector. Also, they will buy office supplies and devices, toiletries, clothing. I remember when I found out that the government actually purchased clothing, it was more so in the realm of military clothing, what we call ACUs, Army Combat Uniforms. And it blew my mind because I guess me being a soldier, I never thought that our clothes somehow came from a contractor. But it was amazing to learn that even these things that you feel are something that no one else has access to, it actually comes from a contractor. There are other products that they purchase are like photographic equipment, cameras, videography equipment, also beauty care products as well. When you really think about how the government moves as a unit, it's so complex, and it would make more sense for them to give this liability to a contractor because the government already has so many different ways that it has to operate as it is. So why not, pass it along to a government contractor? Services, some of the services that they have solicitations out for is staffing. That is actually the primary industry that I went into. My company is a staffing company where we provide temporary personnel support to the government. And this is one service that is ongoing for the government as well. Lease and rental of office space. This is another industry that blew my mind as well. Like, the government needs services in every area that you can think of. And lease and rental is more so like if the government is looking to, their lease is up and they're looking to relocate an agency, they will put out a solicitation that will request that based on their specifics, what they're looking for in a new office space or office building, whether it be the whole building, a partial of the building, all the way down to parking. They're very specific all the way down to even what street they want to be on, what's the mile radius. So this is another way for you to be able to come in as a contractor and essentially act as a liaison between the government and that property owner of that office space or building to contract this service for the government. Another popular service that is used in government contracting is transportation, relocation, right? With the government lease, renewal coming up, there's oftentimes where relocation services are needed as well. And the relocation services can be really broad because you can relocate a federal agency from one location to the next, but then under relocation, it could also be where you're relocating veterans from one building to the next. It just depends, but it's a very wide spectrum that you can really explore if that is something that you're interested in pursuing. Janitorial cleaning services is very popular as well. Obviously became really popular during the pandemic, or very needed rather during the pandemic, but it continues to still be a service that the government does not get enough contractors to fulfill. So if you have a cleaning business and you offer your cleaning services or your cleaning equipment and products meets the criteria for what the government is looking for, even if it doesn't necessarily meet the criteria right now, you can still have the option to be able to acquire the requirements even before you are awarded the contract. Construction is really a popular service that is used throughout government contracting as well. Very, very lucrative service as well to go into. And then another service that is one that we don't hear about too much is personal care. So like your barbershops, your beauty shops. I remember being stationed on a particular base and just going inside of what we call the PX. And inside of the PX, you see these different shops, but it never really dawned on me that these were contractors as well. So this is another way that you can actually become a government contractor on the military bases as well. This is just a snippet of the products and services that you can offer to the government. There is a wide range, and how you find out what products and services the government is looking for is through these codes called a NAICS and PSC code. Your NAICS is also known as a NAICS code. That is what is actually assigned to your entity when you register it, or that's what you assign to your entity when you register your business with the Secretary of State. And then your PSC code, they are the codes that you use to properly define what your business is, right? If you're in, for example, I'll use my business. I'm in staffing. My NAICS code will be 561320. That's more so of your temporary staffing. So your NAICS code and your PSC code is what you're going to use to identify what products and services you can sell to the government. So next question is, okay, Jessica, that's all good and dandy, but how do I become a federal contractor? Let's get into it. To register as a contractor, you must register your entity into SAM.gov. Now, at this point, you should already be a registered entity with your state, with your Secretary of State. So this is kind of the perspective that we are going to move through tonight. If you're not registered, if your business is not registered and you're looking to start a new business and then become a federal contractor, then we would have to, there are some steps that you would have to take to first legalize your business with your local state, and then you would be able to come and register as a contractor. But for tonight's purposes, we are going to assume that everyone is a registered entity, and we'll move forward as that. So your registered entity, now we're going to get you started into SAM.gov. I want to be clear that there is no charge to register and maintain your profile in SAM.gov. I want you to be aware that there are scammers out there that will actually contact you, and they will pose as representing SAM, which stands for System for Award Management. They'll pose as if they are represented by SAM, and they're not. So please be careful when you are approached by these companies, whether it be via email or phone, asking or telling you that you need to pay some charge so that your business can be listed properly. You can do this on your own. You don't actually need to pay anyone to do it for you. Although that there are services out there that will assist you. If you just need help, then of course get the help. But it's very simple for you to, get registered. It's just a matter of knowing what you need in order to get registered. So we're going to talk about that next. Now, this is SAM.gov. Here, this is actually where you want to put into your web browser, www.sam.gov. And how you know it is an official website of the U.S. government is there is a banner at the top that literally says an official website of U.S. government. Again, be mindful for what you have in your web browser, because you want to make sure that you are on the official website and not a scammer. So now we're here. We're at SAM.gov. You're registered. Your entity is legally registered. What do? We're going to go over to the right-hand side of your landing page, SAM.gov landing page, and you're going to click Get Started. Once you get started, we will move into creating you a login account so that you can then go and register your entity. But first, I just want to give you a quick overview of what this page looks like. When you go to SAM.gov, you will always see this landing page even after you get registered, even after you get your login credentials and you are inside of SAM.gov. This is the landing page. Again, you see over here, it says that it's 100% free. That backs up what I said earlier. So on this landing page, you will have your home tab, your search tab, your data bank, and your data services, and then your help. Usually here at the top is where SAM, if they're running any maintenance schedules, it'll be listed up here. If there's anything regarding the site, it's going to be listed in your banner at the top. That's your alert banner. Down in this first bubble or box rather, this is where it's like quick links that you can go into. This is your contract opportunities, your contract data, your wage determinations, your federal hierarchy, assistant listings, entity information, entity reporting. Now you can actually find this same information underneath your search tab as well, but they've made it a little bit more easier for you to access here by placing them in kind of like a quick link menu. Now, when I registered as a contractor, everything was actually separate. So to find your contract opportunities, it was listed underneath sbdo.gov. And your assistant listings was listed on these websites. What they have done is combine them all together to make it more streamlined, which is pretty good, especially if you are not really familiar with how it was previously. This makes it a little bit more streamlined. Once you get registered as a contractor, you want to come to contract opportunities. And this is where you will be able to find your solicitations based on your NAICS code, based on your PCS code, and if there's any set-asides / certificates or certifications that your business may qualify for. Underneath the contract data, this is where you will go. This is your federal procurement data center system. You can actually go into here and find existing contracts that will assist you when you're bidding for new contracts. You can use the existing data or previous data before to kind of help you do research and develop what your government contracting, what your government rate would be. So I have a quick question. Can you have multiple NAICS and PSC codes? Absolutely. I actually recommend it. Usually when I'm looking at a new solicitation, if there is a NAICS code that a contracting officer uses that I don't have in my SAM profile, you can actually go back into your SAM profile and add it. You actually need to if you're going to bid on that contract. It needs to be listed. Sometimes contracting officers, they don't use the same PSC codes or NAICS codes that are directly related to the kind of work or service that they're looking for. They may use a different one. If that is true, or if that's true, then you can definitely go back and add it to your SAM profile before you bid on the contract or bid on the solicitation. That is completely fine. But you can have multiple. I have quite a few. I don't know if there is a limit, but I do know that I have over 20. So there's that. You can definitely use multiple NAICS codes and PSC codes. So once we one place I want to also identify is the entity information. Inside of the entity information, you can, once you're registered into SAM.gov and your entity has been approved and it's gone through the processing, you can find your entity information here in entity information. And then also, of course, when you sign in, there will be a dashboard where you can access that information as well. So let's go to our next slide. Now, once you click get started, you're going to receive this menu here that's going to give you kind of like a brief overview of what to expect. I highly recommend that you read it. It's new to me because, like I said, I was in the old system, so it wasn't as user friendly as this one. But this one gives you kind of like an overview of what to expect. So first, you want to register. After you create your account, then you're going to come back and we're going to do step 2 where you actually set up your SAM.gov account. But what I would like to also point out is the entity registration checklist. Download that before you complete your account, because this entity registration checklist is actually really good that they offered it, because it gives you some insight on what documents you need to have in front of you when you're getting ready to complete your application for your entity. So grab that before you go to your next step. And then from there, we will go and click get started. Once you click get started, you're going to receive this pop-up box. This pop-up box is very important because it shares with you that you're not supposed to share your login credentials with anyone. I want to emphasize on that because I actually had a situation where there was someone who was predatory who asked for my information. And I was able to stop that person in their tracks and let them know this is actually illegal what you're asking me to do. So you don't want to share this information, because this login credentials accesses your SAM.gov profile. And you got to remember, you're in a government system. So when you are registered with SAM, it comes with rules and it comes with regulations that we must abide by as contractors. So if you allow someone to come in and basically breach that, you could potentially put yourself and your business at risk of not being able to even do business with the government anymore. So it's important that you don't share your login credentials. Now, let's say that you have someone on your team that you would like for them to be able to go in and look at solicitations as well. You still don't share your login credentials. There's an option inside of SAM.gov for you to be able to add other admins underneath your profile, so that they will actually get a separate login credentials for them to be able to log in. So it's important. Do not share your login credentials. Now that we have gotten past the alert box, this is the next screen that you will see once you hit accept. We're going to now create an account under login.gov. So login.gov is partnered with SAM.gov, and it's for security measures for you to be able to create an account that is integrated in SAM.gov. So you want to create this account first. in login.gov. And then after you've created this account, we will then go back to SAM.gov in order for you to register. So once you've reached this page, you're going to click on create an account. It will then take you to this screen. You're going to enter in your email address and then enter in your language preference. And I always recommend that you review the rules of use. They're very important. They're there for a reason. So don't just accept anything without reviewing and reading terms. They're very important. After you've reviewed and gotten a good understanding of the rules of use, then you want to read and accept. Click the read and accept button, and then we're going to hit submit. Now you'll actually come back to SAM.gov, like I mentioned before, and now it's going to be time that we get to register your entity. So once you get back to your dashboard, now you have your profile that's already set up at this point. You're going to see that screen under your dashboard that says register your entity or get a unique entity ID or renew, update your entities. So remember when I said that it's free for you to register your entity to become a federal government contractor? Every year, you will have to renew it. So once you make it through the process of registering your entity, the day that it is approved by SAM.gov, a year from that, 12 months from that, that's when it'll expire. So you'll need to renew it before that date, or you will have to start the process all over again. So good practice, just renew it before the expiration date. And the way to renew it is, instead of clicking get started here, you're going to go and click renew/update, which is fairly easy. I actually just did mine a few days ago. So now that we're getting registered, we're going to click get started. Now is the time to take that checklist you got from our first page of when we were creating the account. Go ahead and go over that checklist and start to gather everything that you need on that form so that you're prepared. So once we've clicked get started, you're now going to see a button that says register your entity. We're going to click on register your entity, and then we'll go to our next step. Now, this is the next page that you're going to see. It's the purpose of registration. An entity within the SAM system will include, as it says, your prime contractors, organizations, or individuals applying for assistance awards, those receiving loans, proprietors, corporations, partnerships, and any federal government agencies desiring to do business with the government. So with that being said, if someone is registered in SAM.gov, you will be able to look them up under that quick link that I showed you under entity information, as well as they will be able to look you up in SAM.gov as well, provided that your account is public. So when you get to your purpose, this form is going to basically ask you, what are you here for? What do you want? What are your intentions? So the first question is, what type of entity are you registering? You will be registering a business or organization because you're not a government agency. So it will almost always be business or organization. Your second question is, why are you registering this entity to do business with the government? If you are planning to bid on contracts, you want to select, I want to be able to bid on federal contracts or other procurement opportunities. I also want to be able to apply for grants, loans, and other financial assistance programs. You want to select this option because if you select the second option, you will not be able to bid on federal government contracts. You will only be allowed to apply for federal assistance opportunities like grants, loans, and any other financial assistance programs. So you want to select the first option if you plan to bid on government contracts. After you have made your selections, then you will receive this first screen to confirm your purpose of registration. And based on those answers, the system will generate the registration sections that you will need to complete for your entity. So for this case, we've decided to go with all awards. And within there, the next thing that you're going to be assigned is a unique entity ID. Now, this is actually a new option that SAM.gov has created as of April. It's actually fairly new. Before, you would be able to just use your EIN, which is kind of like your business social security number, to place on your solicitations. Now, inside of SAM.gov, they have now, every profile will be generated with a unique entity ID. And this is a new level of security measures that has been implemented by SAM.gov. The next thing that you're going to complete is the core data. And this is mostly going to be all of your general and financial information about your entity. So that's going to be the name, the actual legal name, your physical address, your EIN, which is your kind of like your social security number for your business, any general information like point of contacts that you want to list, your financial information. So where do you want your payments to be sent to? All of this needs to be correct and inputted incorrectly, because if there's any error, then that could potentially, for one, if it's your financial information, that could delay your payment, right? If it's your entity name, when you're going through the process of getting validated through SAM.gov, that could, if your entity name is listed incorrectly or you forgot a letter, that could hold up the processing for your SAM profile. So you want to make sure that you list everything as you registered it, and you want to make sure that all of your details are correct before you proceed forward to any other steps. The next section after you've completed your core data is going to be your assertions. Inside of here, these are just self-assertions that you're going to list. Let's say that you are offering as a business a type of good or service that you provide. You can list a self-assertion that basically proves or shows more proof of that good or service that you offer. Kind of like, think of like a quality type certification that you may have to further qualify what you're offering to the government. That is a place where you can submit those assertions in there. The next section after that is going to be your FAR and your DFAR representations and certifications. These will be based off of the questions that are being asked to you while you're registering. The FAR stands for Federal Acquisition Regulations, and this is kind of like what I like to call your Bible. I use the Federal Acquisition Regulation to better understand the contracts, the solicitations, and also what I can do as a contractor, and also what the government is liable for, what they're responsible for as well. You got to remember that this is a partnership. So I don't want you to be afraid to know your rights or know what is in your limitations and what is in the government's limitations. So based upon the questions, how you answer your questions within your registration, you will be given a set of regulations that applies to your business based on those questions. After that, you'll go into your points of contact. Your points of contact, they do have mandatory points of contact that are listed in there. If you don't have anyone else besides yourself, you can list yourself as all 4 points of contacts. So you'll see inside of the registration, they'll want one for your accounts receivables, your electronic business, any government business that they need to reach out to. You can list yourself if you don't have anyone else that will represent your business on this side of things. After you have confirmed your purpose of registration, the next page that you will see is to gather your information. But we've already done that, right? Because we looked at our entity checklist, we prepared ourselves prior to. Now's the time for you to actually enter those things in. The next page that you will see after we have gathered our documents is where you will now enter your legal business name. This is the name that is listed on your EIN when it was generated upon creation. So if your business is ABC Company LLC, you want to list it in SAM.gov as ABC Company LLC. If you list your business as ABC LLC, it will get rejected. It will not meet the validation requirements, and it will get rejected, and then you will have to go back in and correct it before it can move to the next step. Usually after you have submitted your entity information, you will then go into the next step of your processing, which is the IRS validation. The IRS validation is a system process program where they literally take what you have listed on your application and they align it with what the IRS has in their system. If there is any failure in match, it will kick it back, and then you'll receive a notification from SAM.gov saying it failed the IRS validation, and you'll need to go back in and make the change. So please, please, please list your everything that how you have it listed on your IRS EIN and how you have it listed with the Secretary of State. Make sure that you put that into the system correctly, so to avoid any mishaps. So you're going to list your legal business name, list the physical address that you have, and this new option that SAM.gov has is they're going to validate it before you even get to the IRS. So they take the system that they have and they can pull business names based on your physical address that's registered with the Secretary of State and your legal business name. So that's another reason why it needs to be completely correct. So the next step after you've entered your entity information is now SAM.gov is going to go and try to validate the information so that they can now give you what they call a UEI, which is essentially your unique entity ID. They're going to, the next screen that you're going to see that I actually couldn't present it tonight because I already have an entity in here. But once you put in your entity information, you're going to click next. And the next page that you're going to see is going to say, they're going to validate, they're going to pull up all of the businesses based on your address, based on your name. If your business is there, great. Next step for you to do is to then select the option for your business and then request your UEI. If your business is not listed in there, go back and make sure that you've input all of your data in correctly. If after you've inputted your data in correctly, it's still not showing or it's still not populating, then you will need to actually submit a ticket, a work ticket to the FSD, which is kind of like their federal service desk. And it's where they process like any IT tickets, work tickets, things of that nature. But if you are completely validated, then the next step for you to do is to request your UEI, UEI, and then it'll generate your UEI for you. So let's just say you have done all of that. You've gotten your UEI. Now we're going to go to our next step. After this, you will actually go into those core data. So you will then begin to complete your core data, the financial information, your point of contacts. You'll answer those questions that you that are related to your business to help generate which regulations apply to your company. And after you've completed all of those steps, you can go back in and confirm before you actually submit the application for processing. And after you've confirmed that everything is correct, you can now submit it over so that it can begin the processing. Again, the first two steps for the SAM.gov is they're system operated. So there's not an actual agent or representative reviewing your paperwork. They're not reviewing it until after it has gone through the IRS validation. And then there's another step that it goes through as well before it even gets into the hands of a representative. So the best thing to do is, again, make sure that everything is correct. You've inputted your information correctly so that it can make it past those steps. And typically it has been taking, as far as a turnaround to get your account to be active, about 7 to 14 days. It just depends on, the workload for SAM.gov. But I just recently renewed my registration, and it took about 7 days for me to receive my active status for my company. So now that we have completed our SAM registration, what I would like to talk to you about just as a bonus is what certifications are. Now, there are certifications that you can use that your business may qualify for. And what those certifications do is they set you apart in a sense of certain government contracts. So government contracting, anybody can be a government contractor provided that you are a registered entity and you become a federal contractor. However, there are set asides that for small businesses under the SBA, Small Business Administration, that our businesses can qualify for. And those set asides will allow us access to government contracts that are set aside for small businesses, which is a beautiful thing, right? So there are set asides such as woman-owned small business. You have your hub zone, you have 8A, you also have veteran-owned small business, and then you have service-disabled veteran-owned set asides. So how those translate into government contracting is the government has to set aside a certain amount of government contracts so that small businesses such as myself and you can have an opportunity to be able to bid and win on those contracts and not have our competition be like an IBM or a General Dynamics or a Booz Allen. Like these set asides are specifically made for small businesses. So what is really neat is that under the SBA, under certified.sba.gov, there is actually a little quiz that you can take by answering a few questions that will show you what certifications you qualify for. Based on that quiz, you can then take that information and apply for these certifications. It's very easy, very simple, not complex whatsoever. Even with the woman-owned small business, it was very easy to actually navigate through and properly submit the information that I needed to get my certification. Now you will see on the website where they will promote certain firms for you to, apply with to get your certification with. But I didn't take that route. If that is something that you feel that you will need, by all means, I'm not going to discourage it. But I'm a researcher and I like to find out the answers for myself so then I can then, go and help someone else. And I truly believe that knowledge is power, and that's something that nobody can take away from you. So rather than always, paying other people to get what you need, take the time to find out for yourself, because once you have that knowledge, that's something that no one can take away from you, right? So with that being said, I highly encourage that you take the quiz, answer the questions about your business so that you can see which certifications that you qualify for. Because I was saying to someone the other day how literally the government has to set aside $23 billion in small business set aside so that we as small businesses can have an opportunity to be able to bid. So if that money or those contracts are being set aside for us as small businesses, and it's not a lot of us out there actually bidding, what do you think they're going to do with the money? So we really need to, I really just want to encourage you to get out there, bid. Bidding is not as scary as it may sound. I mean, I thought it was. I was so afraid to bid and just the idea of it. But in order for you to get comfortable with it, you just got to bid, and just keep bidding. That's the point. Like, just keep doing it and always think that you're going to win. If you have a mindset that you're going to win, trust me, you're going to win. And those were the mentality. That's the mentality that I went into government contracting. And I literally, within not even 60 days, I won 2 contracts back to back. One of them was a $2.1 million contract. So you can win. If I can do it, I know you can do it. So if you need my help for anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. Again, I am here to help, in any way that I can. It's been a pleasure. I hope to see you guys in the next class or talk to you soon. So thank you so much.